All right, we've got our guy Baldy joining us right now. What is going on, Brian? How's it going?
Things are going good. I mean, here we are getting ready for week 7. So I've digested all the 16 games this week, kind of got an idea of what's happening, and ready to roll with you guys here.
Yeah, I love it. And before we get into the Broncos Chiefs game almost a week ago and preview
Wow.
this Packers game coming up, we asked you about the adventures that you've been going on, and you actually posted a video to Twitter. So I want to pull it up so everyone can follow through with your adventures here. Yeah, here, let's see what Baldy was doing. Tell us about this, Brian.
I mean, I'm just I have a house in Fort Lauderdale, so I'm a free diver. So I'm just diving down at the pier here. Saw a little nurse shark just kind of putzing around, so I just decided to follow it for a little while, see if it could lead me to some other nurses, and uh, couldn't stay down longer than a minute and a half. So I kind of popped up, gave my thoughts about it right there. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing when I get some free time.
Wow.
You're definitely a big guy. Do you get any sharks that feel like you might be part of the family? They come up kind of close and think that you're one of
I
them?
know the ones. There's some like the bull sharks make me nervous. I get out of the water when I see them, but nervous lemon sharks, reef sharks. Like I don't know, they don't seem to have much interest in what I'm doing.
Wow.
Man, that's awesome. We're gonna have to just do a weekly catch up with you on these. Anything planned this weekend?
Well, not really. No, I mean I've got to get to Indianapolis for the Colts Cleveland game, so I'm getting ready to go watch. Maybe the best defensive football here this weekend. See if they can put another one on.
Wow.
They
Man,
did San Francisco last week.
It's really true. We got to do like a look
Yeah.
around the NFL with you at some point because that Browns defense was great. But I think the Broncos defense heard you last week because we asked you to describe what type of fish the Broncos would be, and you said like a teeth without any, or a shark without any teeth because they just have no defense. And finally, the Broncos defense showed up last week. Well, what was the biggest change to allow the Broncos to have success, not just in the NFL, but specifically against the Chiefs? What'd you see from their defense?
Well, they kept them to the one touchdown, but they didn't give up the big plays. There wasn't big chunk plays. I mean, the one to Travis Kelsey, but really they didn't give up a lot of big plays. They kept everything underneath. They tackled the catch. They got some pressure on Patrick to flush him, but I thought they played much tighter in coverage than what we have seen, and I thought that was a big part of it. And then look, Isaiah Pacheco's a quality back, but he never shook loose. And so I just thought like the linebackers, really pressed the line of scrimmage. There's an old saying that if you step up, you can clean it up. If you back up, you give it up. And I just felt like they stepped up and cleaned up a lot of the run game last week.
They really played good in the red zone. They were able to step up and make some good stops. I talked again on this show about how, as a defense, we really feel like we have the ability to play, tight in the red zone because there's limited space. You being an offensive lineman, how does the offense feel when they get to the red zone? Is that an opportunity where they feel like they would much rather score from like the 40-yard line as opposed to being, in a tight space, trying to score, 5-10 yards out?
Well, the closer you get, I mean, as an offensive lineman, you want to be able to run the ball. If you can run the ball in the red zone, you're going to have greater chances of success. But, we know that, defense can stop the run if they want to. If they, if that's what their goal is, they can stop that. I feel like when you get down there, defenses, they're either playing you man or they're playing you in quarters. It's one or the other. And so what's your man beater? What are you doing against quarters? And so to me, like, you have to have a plan, especially with Mahomes, his ability to extend plays. But you got to take Kelsey away down there. You got to, I mean, you got to have eyeballs on him. You got to have guys that are going to attack him. And it's not going you can't just leave him open because Mahomes will get him the ball. And so I just felt like, they play much tighter in that field. It's a compressed area like you're talking about. But I think you got to mix it up a little bit about what you're doing too, because if Chiefs know you're man coverage like they did against the Eagles in the Super Bowl, they're going to throw those man beaters at you and they're going to get easy completions.
Do you think that the Broncos defense has kind of turned a corner? Like, do you look at that and say, okay, they've kind of figured something out. They can go forward. They can be a solid defense, or do you come away from that saying, well, at least it's possible, but odds are they're going to be back to themselves next week?
Well, I think, they're getting guys back out there right now. Josie's out there. Justin Simmons is back. I mean, Justin Simmons is a Pro Bowl safety for a reason. I mean, he's an elite player, and he knows formations, he knows route combinations, and he missed a couple weeks, and I thought they really missed him back there. You know, I felt like the back end is playing much better right now, and really, you know, they've got some elite players. Like I heard somebody saying something like maybe Sean Payton can, you know, dangle Patrick out there, Surtain, you know, for trade bait right now. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you're going to give up on Patrick Surtain? Like, that's exactly what you're looking for, that guy. So, you know, I just feel like they're playing much better in the back end. And to be honest with you, like, if the back end breaks down in coverage or they don't tackle well, you give up big plays and teams score touchdowns. If the back end is in tight coverage, they're in communication, and they tackle well, you're going to limit the number of explosive plays.
Speaking of trade bait, let's hop to the other side of the ball with Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton, these Broncos receivers. During the Chiefs game, you tweeted, Chiefs cornerbacks own these Broncos wide receivers, lock them up all night. I don't think anyone would disagree with that at all. Is that more of the Chiefs cornerbacks being that good, or the Broncos wide receivers just really not being that good? And then what's their value, if any, on the trade market?
I don't know what the value is. Obviously, you know, you guys, you know, heard what Steve Smith Sr. had to say, you know, about Jerry Jeudy. And, you know, I've known Steve a long time. I knew when he was a dog in his league in Carolina. I've known him a long time. Now, he's straight out of Compton. Like, he doesn't mix any words. But if he turns on you, he ain't going to, you know, he's not going to sugarcoat anything. But that's you know, that's that beef. The Chiefs corners, they challenge everybody out there. Like, I think, like, Cleveland shut down the 49ers, but the Chiefs defense, they've given up 8 touchdowns in 6 games. Like, I'll take the Chiefs defense over just about anybody in this business right now because they got all the pieces. Because they can play any style. If you want to blitz and just get blitz happy, they can do it. If you want to lock up receivers, they're going to lock you up. McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed and Watson, they're going to lock you up. Now, elite receivers, great quarterbacks, they can still beat you. You know, you can still beat great coverage with a great throw and a great catch. I didn't see that from Denver the other night. Those guys are dog. They punk you at the line of scrimmage. They tackle. Like, they're a great group. And they're young, you know, and so they practice, you know, every day against Mahomes, and they're used to seeing some, you know, really good players on that side. And then they can get after you with their blitzes in their front. Nobody can block Chris Jones. So you know that the ball's got to come out pretty fast, the way they blitz, the way that they pressure. So these corners are like, all right, you give me a 3-second clock in my head. I'm going to get right in their grill, and I'm going to stay right there.
Yeah, they're definitely dogs, and thank God the Broncos don't have to play them every week. This week we have the Packers, and the Broncos aren't favored, but I do feel like this is a game that the Broncos could win. I want to talk about, or have you talk about, how this Broncos offense matches up against this Green Bay defense, and how the Broncos could be able to exploit, you know, this team as a whole.
Well, I think Green Bay's defense, you know, they have a lot of number 1 draft picks on it. I think they have 7 or 8 guys that were number 1 draft picks. You know, you could just go through them all. You know, Rashawn and, you know, Jair, like, I think there's 7 or 8 of them. But they don't play like that. And so they seem to break down sometimes in the back end about how they do things, whether it's Rasul Douglas or whatever. So I think there's openings in the back end. They're a zone team. They're not a press man coverage team. You got to block him up front. Rashawn Gary's a really good player. He's a situational pass rusher right now. So when he comes in the game, he comes in fresh. Number 52, you got to count for him. He's a good player. They play a lot of different fronts. You're going to get a bear front. You're going to get a dime front. You're going to get a lot of different fronts. You got to recognize what they're in. And so personnel grouping is important. Sean knows all about that. He'll see it. But I don't feel like they're a great defense. I don't feel like they play up to their talent level. They got big guys inside, Slayton's inside, and Clark and some of these guys. But, like, I see teams gash them. I saw the Eagles run for 350 yards against them last year. Like, I think first thing you got to do is test them in the run game to see if their run fits are good, or if they're holding their ground and holding their point inside. Like, I would test them in the run game first.
And then other side of the ball, and that Packers offense, obviously Jordan Love has had his ups and downs, but what do you worry about the most when it comes to the Packers offense, and how do you kind of shut it down?
Well, Jordan Love's got mobility to him, but he's got a slingshot of an arm. You can see some of the things that he learned from, you know, Aaron Rodgers there. Like, he throws the ball really good. He extends plays well. they're beat up front on the offensive line. It's not a secret. Like, you got to win the line of scrimmage. Like, under duress, he threw 3 interceptions in the last game. It's something he had never done before. He had actually played really, really well and done a good job of taking care of the football. And under pressure in the last game, like, he put it up there. Now, they're a young receiving group. You know, Watson, Romeo Dobbs, 2 rookie tight ends. Like, they're very, very young. But, you know, the guy that you have to defend, and he didn't play in the last game, is Aaron Jones. He's just an elite player. He's special. Like, he doesn't miss a hole. His vision's uncanny. And he's got tremendous contact balance, and he loves the game. Like, when they're rolling, like that, you know, AJ and Aaron Jones, like, that's a good 1-2 combination. They throw the ball to both of them, and they run it really well with them. And that's really what Green Bay wants to do. That's kind of how they want to set the table.
Taking a step back here and looking at the bigger picture, you watch more film of the NFL than anyone. You've seen all the Broncos games. Comparing the Broncos and their entire team to other teams in the NFL, do you think the Broncos, by the trade deadline, need to blow things up and need to trade a lot of their players? Or do you think they have enough of a core there to build for the future with this team? And I'm not saying trade everyone like the Pat Surtains and everything, but do you think they need to really kind of take a step back and sell some parts?
Well, maybe where they're at with the roster is, who are you going to sell? I mean, you're going to sell Jerry Jeudy? Okay. All right, you're going to play Brandon Johnson? All right. I mean, that's not going to help Russell Wilson out at all. But I don't know what the market is for Jerry Jeudy. There's an injury history there. There's drops on tape. There's things that say, well, he's not the missing piece, like the way, say, Van Jefferson was let go. But he was let go because Puka Nacua is just that good.
Yeah.
You know, and now you got him and Atwell, and, you know, you got Cooper Kupp. Like, they got their 3. They had an expendable player. So I don't know. Maybe that's what you say, okay, there's not an offensive lineman. They barely have 5, you know, right now that can line up and play. So, like, you're not going to trade Javonte. He's coming off a major surgery.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who they have that some other team would really covet right now. Or somebody that's going to command a big salary, and you're going to, like, we'll just cut it now. We'll get whatever we can asset-wise, and we can, you know, save the money and spend it in free agency next year. Like, if you look at the roster, I don't know who you're going to go unload at this point.
Yeah, it's a good point, and it's a sad point, but it's the truth. And Baldy, you always bring the truth. We love the insight every single week. Good luck if you swim with any sharks this weekend, and we look forward to catching up with you in a week.
Oh, there'll be more adventures, guys. There's no doubt about it. But I just want to go see, you know, Flash Garrett in Cleveland and see if, see what that's going to look like in Indianapolis this week.
Oh, I love it. Thanks so much, Brian. Have a great trip.
Yep. Take care.